Hello and welcome back to Stalevar. It's been a while since we are in this project for several reasons, but first of all, I want to say hello to Silvarret Rudi.
Hi.
Hey everybody.
And yeah, one of the reasons that is maybe a delay in this project is probably the Gamescom, right?
Maybe.
This
Maybe.
could be, yeah.
Possibly,
and because
yeah.
Sylv is on holidays, as always.
I'm not at the moment. I'm
yeah.
back in Brussels.
That's true. It just feels like.
True.
But you know, I'm not complaining. It's always good to have holidays, so you well deserve have your holidays.
Oh,
Actually,
yeah.
you're going to, yeah. You're going
In
to
hindsight, though, I did way too much. But yeah, I also did some theme park visits, so I count that as being productive.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, yeah, we should probably talk about the episode.
Well, I first wanted to ask how did Gamescom went? How was the game?
Oh. It was all right, I guess.
Okay. Convincing.
No, I guess well, for me at least, I think Gamescom itself was really great. But the game itself also, for me at least, I have to admit that it really was surprising. It was way better than I expected in a lot of things, and there is obviously quite a bit to fix, but I think it was a good opportunity to tell them. But overall, it was a great experience, and I think everyone who has been there just shared the opinion.
I can only agree with that.
Great potential, but yeah, gonna have to see where that leads to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one thing I want to say about Planet Zoo, I hope they fix the shadows, but that's always what I'm talking about, I know, but yeah, I think it's important. We will see, I guess.
Hold up. What's with the shadows?
Oh.
The thing you did explain.
Yeah, that's the shadow, that there are not so many shadow, how do you explain, different levels of darkness. It's just one.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And if there were like screenshots of animals in caves and it was like really bright underneath the animals, only like a drop shadow. But yeah,
true.
I'm always critical in that kind of things, but it's probably just me, so never mind, I guess.
No, I do agree. It's definitely one of my main graphics gripes with the Planet franchise.
I wonder though if it's. I mean, I do have less info about how Elite Dangerous treats this, and also I don't have enough in mind about Jurassic World Evolution. But for some odd reasons, it might be a limitation to the engine. Could that be a thing?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not. I have absolutely zero idea of how this treats the things, but maybe it's just an overall lighting thing. Why wouldn't? But to be fair, I wouldn't have noticed it until you pointed it out and explained it in like the little GIF you made, operateur. It was really great to see what you meant, and once you see it, you see it, and that's kind of a problem now.
Yeah, true. I also regret noticing it. Well, yeah, I cannot explain, but now like you say, I constantly now I notice, and I don't want to do interiors anymore. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not too sorry that you did this because it's always good to notice, and I think pointing these kind of things out for improvement is always important, and I think this could be a huge improvement in the future.
Yeah, I should actually add to that as well. There's always, whenever you critique a game like that, there's always some controversy and people who would rather just support the game. But I think at the end of the day, you want people to be critical, you want people to give constructive criticism about your product, because otherwise there's no reason and no way to improve it. And I think Planet Coaster managed to improve in many ways based on community feedback, except the coaster editor. We know that's never going to change, and everybody who just keeps complaining about it really kind of needs to shut up, I think, because it's just such a core element that can't be changed in hindsight. But for many things, being critical can be very helpful as well. Although you should, of course, always do it respectfully.
Yeah.
You mean in that kind of sense that you call the the game a piece of shit?
Yeah, that's respectfully.
Oh no.
Oh, this has kind of a story, but we were just because we were asking operator, we were just reminded by Dale at Gamescom that the reason why they reached out to Sylv was that Sylv potentially did call the game maybe a piece of shit.
No, so I remember this only after he pointed this out, because I kind of forgot about this whole thing happening. But I remember that I called specifically the roller coaster elements absolute shit, and these were the words that I used. But I was saying this on a public Discord, the r/Planet Coaster Discord, nonetheless, which is probably in hindsight not a great idea. But Dale found that, and he shot me something like a message along the lines of, "Why don't you explain what you think is absolute shit about the game?" And that was my first contact with the actual Frontier community managers.
Oh really? I didn't know that.
I have to say I still love the reaction of Dale though.
Yeah. I love that he remembers it as well. I didn't even remember it anymore.
True, yeah, that's absolutely true. Oh yeah, but operateur, you want to tell us a little bit more what you're doing there? Because I'm quite fascinated by the amount of changes you're doing in such a small room over here, and for such a small kind of building, but yet great looking already.
Yeah, so it's kind of the entrance gates building for where on the side of the road. I will make the road later in the video, but like this is like where the guard stands or tickets. No, tickets. What I'm saying, there is no tickets here. So yeah, just where the guards are, or someone who checks your ID stuff. And I
this is where the employees would get into the factory, I guess.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, mostly for the people for the office. The big building I done 2 episodes ago. Not sure if the workers themselves will enter the factory here, but yeah, that's for later in the project, I think.
I think it's really cool to have that. So if I, I was also checking a lot of material, and I feel like these kind of entrance buildings also, I mean, that's maybe not the best kind of inspiration for this one, but if you look at movies, for example, that play in these times and kind of have this kind of factory vibe to it, these kind of entrance buildings always play a very important role, because they're opening the scene and people like walking into their daily routine. Just past this door, and this kind of putting them into the scenery. And I really love that you just spend the time to make this building really look absolutely fascinating. I mean, it's really fitting the style, even though it is kind of bringing in a little bit more of different style. Yeah, I have to say I really love that you tackled this building. I wasn't even thinking about this one in particular.
Yeah, so I took the side buildings of the big building I done earlier. So it's kind of based on that part, and I just expanded, made 2 buildings, and then like a gate across to join them together, basically.
Yeah, I can only agree with Rudi here. I think it's such a crucial part of factories like this, and the architectural style is also really interesting, because it's kind of reminds me of early modernism, but then it has some classical detailing to it as well. Was there anything that specifically inspired this building in the real world, or the buildings that are already in Stalevar that inspired this?
No, not really. No. Well, the buildings I done on the left of the big office building, that was like. Kind of based on several photos I found from old factories in Russia, or I don't know exactly what country it was. And then based on that, I expanded to this building. So
do you know the game Cossacks? You guys know the game Cossacks or Cossacks or whatever it's called in English?
Yeah.
It's kind of a more late medieval set game where you can also play different like countries. I don't want to call them countries. It's more like it's even more like architectural styles, if you will, of buildings, because they're like so similar. But I remember that there was also like a lot of Russian inspired buildings, and once you proceed to the 18th century, I do remember that there was a little bit of architectural style that does fit with what you built here. They always had this kind of reddish brick with mixed with the kind of very early concrete work. Oh my god, I just love what you did here.
Yeah, the weed between the tiles is really nice.
Yeah, I'm removing the part in front of this building because I wanted to change the tiles for like pavement and roads next to it. So I will move those plants in between the tiles more to the side of the plaza itself.
Ooh, and I like that detailing on the pillar as well. Sorry, just to butt in for a bit.
I can only agree. This is again, I'm sorry if I'm also for the viewers. I'm really sorry if I'm repeating myself all the time, but it's really fascinating. I mean, I've seen a lot of your episodes, especially when it comes to all your projects where you're like recreating stuff. But the difference is that recreating always has like a very, very specific theme and layout already in mind, so it's not that obvious how you actually use the pieces in the way you do. So it's it was still fascinating, but it's always like a given that you are thriving for a specific look. But with this more freeform and going a bit more crazy in your mind, I still have to say that I'm absolutely blown away by how you use the pieces. Even after like 3.5 years or 3 years of Planet Coaster madness, find a lot of crazy things you do with the pieces that I haven't seen before anyone else doing that way, especially when it comes to detailing. So I'm really crazily inspired by what you do and in each and every episode. So I do feel I have to repeat myself here again, because this is really absolutely cool. Honestly, I mean, it's not great for the FPS because you are using way too many pieces, but that's great.
Yeah, I don't really, I don't really think about piece counts and FPS stuff, and so.
Yeah, I'm sure the developers are cringing if they're watching along with this. But yeah, I can only agree here again. It's your detail work is really cool.
Yeah, thanks.
It's like the very detailed things, like if you take these pillars, taking these pillars and only using the one brick pillar, let alone, is already cool. But that you used like 8 pieces in total only to create this little bit of depth to the corner pieces, it's just so good, because it creates so much more depth. I think it's the real word, but like it makes it all feel more plastic, and that's really cool, to be honest. So yeah, I'm very, 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 very blown away by this entrance building. If you see this now in its full glory, it doesn't really look like it took that long, but it's very cool to see how it came along. So
yeah, true. Yeah. It's like a small
building.
That is
true. It looks kind of simpler than it really is.
Yeah.
Which is by no means it's not even criticism. I think it kind of highlights even more how good it is, because I think like all artists say, like the simpler it looks, the better it is in the detail. So kind of this is really, really cool.
Yeah, so here I'm fixing the distance between the buildings, because I wanted to use the gates of the spooky pack, I think it was.
Oh yeah, it must be spooky. Yeah.
And here I replaced the tiles with pavement and the padding with the concrete. Well, no, it's not concrete, tarmac, I think.
Yeah.
That's a very smooth transition, actually. That transitions very well into the bricks.
I also had the idea to, on the right side of the entrance, I placed like a road, so maybe we can do like a truck entrance there with like
that makes sense, because I remember Oh yeah, that's cool because that's where also the delivery area for the little railroad system is put, right? If I
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
correctly.
indeed, exactly.
Ah, that's super cool. Yeah, that's super great. Oh, I love the skyline of the coaster in the background. Sylv, you're gonna have a lot of support work to do in all the kind of building stuff we've done here.
Oh, that's a really good point actually, because at the end of the day, this is going to be one of the actual entrances for the coaster, right? Where guests are also going to walk in.
Potentially, yeah.
Well, we now have the park entrance on the backside to where the docks are, but we can also add an entrance here, I think. Can we add 2 entrances to a park?
Yeah, sure. You can just go into the scenario editor and put.
Okay, yeah.
I think infinite spawners actually. I think my maximum I ever used were like 10, but yeah, I believe you can use a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, in terms of a sight line, it would make sense to have the entrance here. Because I think as you walk through the gate, you probably have quite a good view of the coaster and an overall better setup of it than from the other side of it.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, that's something to look into at a later stage, I suppose.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, it's very easily doable, I guess.
And very often in, real life factories like this, you do have multiple entrances as well, different sides of the factory grounds, because these are often huge. You can always have multiple entrance buildings.
In fact, they're actually even for different cities or towns, I should call them. When I was looking into some of the biggest districts I found, it's sometimes so big actually that they have different town accesses. Like, the one town to the north of the factory and the south town, they basically never see each other because they are so far away from each other, even though working in the same factory complex. And this is why they have completely different entrance areas. Like, not even the entrance itself, it's like a whole district of the factory that is located towards a different town. It's completely insane.
Huh. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy how big factories actually are sometimes. I feel like since they're not as big a part of our economy anymore, people don't really realize this as much anymore, but factories are giant things.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in Russia, you have these. I also when I was looking, especially in these kind of factories for, I think it was like at the end of the Cold War when they were building a lot of these rocket ship factories where they were actually building their projects to go to the moon, which was crazy because these complexes were not only like size-wise in terms of like the whole ground they used, but also like in terms of how deep they digged into the ground, because these were like lowered down quite a bit to make sure that these rockets don't stick out to the upper side, so that's not as easily spottable like from air view or something. So that was kind of crazy to see like how gigantic these areas are in the end. Like it seems like the factory itself is way smaller, but then you see like the whole bunker complex and how it is connected, and then you see like it's kind of spread across 3 towns or something. So that's really crazy.
Yep.
That's cool.
It's also an interesting concept in a sense that often, these towns will even have been spawned by the factories themselves. Like they've grown around the factories. This is something that, for the abandoned factory that I went to in Estonia, there's this huge town around it, which is one of the biggest cities in Estonia, which is now getting deserted because the factory closed a couple decades ago. And it just destroyed the whole economy of the whole town because it was solely reliant on that factory there, which is often kind of a trapping in terms of an urban planning angle, but that's something that happens a lot, especially in post-Soviet areas where these factories have been such huge parts of the economy.
Yep.
Yeah, sure.
Wow, I mean, if you think about this is really crazy because the same thing happens now in Germany quite a bit, even though not on this kind of scale, but with the Ruhrgebiet. Now they closed off the last mining complex. And it's crazy how many people, actually how many families lost their jobs, like father, son, and this is just insane. And yeah, they actually don't have anything else to do. Like they never learned anything else. So this is why it's so crazy to see that the whole industry is just going to break away, and then like the society completely changes. So it's society-wise very interesting. Oh my god, I just love this cinematic right here.
Oh yeah, that looks really cool. Oh, and you have a perfect view of the lift hill also coming straight through the gate.
Yeah.
Was that very planned of you?
No, it was totally coincidence.
Okay, you totally should have said that it was planned, because it definitely works out as such.
Yeah, okay.
It was planned though. I know he told
Yeah.
us before in the chat.
Okay,
Yeah.
obviously.
That was
Yep.
a made-up joke
Yeah.
here.
So yeah, I was also thinking about adding some more fountain stuff to the middle of the plaza, because now I only have like the square box, but that's for later, I guess.
Yeah. One question though, what does it mean? The kebab? Whatever.
Oh, that's
Isn't that Stalevar?
it's Stalevar in actual Russian.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, in
Okay.
Cyrillic.
Oh wow. Well, my Russian isn't that great, so.
Kebab.
Sorry, I'm hungry. I just.
Yeah, I think you just read what you want to read, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's Google Translate, so I hope it's correct. So yeah, for those who can read Russian, please confirm.
If not, we're just calling it a very delicious coaster because it sounds like kebab, so that's fine.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so that's the end of the video now, and I want to thank you, Rudi and Sylv, again to join me here.
Yeah, you're welcome. Finally, we made it again.
Yeah. So the next video we will see on whose channel it is. We don't know yet, I guess, or do we?
I don't know. Is it Sylv? Is it me? I don't know. Is there any time restraints that could keep each of us away? I think we have to discuss. And
Yeah,
we're gonna see
indeed.
where it is.
People will just see it's appearing, I guess. So thank you everyone for watching. Give the video a like if you enjoyed it, and see you in the next video. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.